Formula One is going through a very big change in 2026 with new cars and new engines. But after the first few days of testing in Bahrain, it's very clear that many of the drivers are not too happy. They're saying the new cars are not fun to drive and that the new rules are making things too complicated. The biggest name to complain is Max Verstappen, but he's not the only one. Other top drivers like Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso have also said they're worried about the new direction of the sport. This isn't just a small disagreement between a few drivers, it's a major debate about the soul and the future of Formula One. So the main problem is the new engine, or power unit as we call it in F1. In 2026, the power from the engine will be split 50-50 between the normal petrol engine and the electric motor. That's a huge change from the current cars where the petrol engine provides most of the power. So this new 50-50 split means that the electric part of the engine is much more important than ever before. To make this work, the MGU-H, a complex part that recovered energy from the turbo, has now been removed. That was done to make the engines simpler and cheaper for new companies like Audi and Ford to join the sport. However, this change does mean that the cars now have a lot more electrical power to manage, but less efficient ways to get that energy back. This leads to a driving style that many drivers find frustrating. They have to save a lot of energy in the corners so they can use it on the long straights. That technique is called lift and coast, where a driver lifts off the gas pedal long before the braking zone to let the car slow down and recharge the battery. On some tracks, drivers are lifting off the gas for up to 600 meters before a corner. That's a very long time to not be pushing the car to the limit. This is the opposite of the aggressive on-the-limit driving that F1 is famous for, and this is what is making the cars not very fun to drive for many of the drivers. So Max Verstappen was very clear and very angry about his feelings. He said the new cars are not fun to drive and that the new rules are anti-racing. He even said that the new cars feel like Formula E on steroids. Formula E, of course, the all-electric racing series, and Verstappen's comment is a big insult to both Formula One and Formula E. He explained that drivers will have to do strange things like downshifting into lower gears on the straights just to charge the battery instead of focusing on going as fast as possible. He feels that the driver is becoming less important now and the car's software is becoming the more important thing. He said that he might even think about retiring from F1 if he doesn't enjoy driving these cars. So it's a very big deal. Verstappen is, of course, one of the biggest stars in F1, a four-time world champion, and he's hinted at retiring early before if the sport goes in a direction that he doesn't like. His contract with Red Bull ends in 2028, and these new rules could be a factor about whether he decides to stay or not. His team, Red Bull, does seem to agree with him, actually. They've also expressed concerns about the new regulations, worrying that the driver's skill is now being overshadowed by complex engineering. The team has invested heavily in Verstappen, and they just want the rules to allow their star driver to show his full talent. Lewis Hamilton, who has just joined Ferrari, has also said that he's worried about the new rules. He said that the new cars are ridiculously complex and that on some tracks drivers will have to lift and coast for 600 meters before a corner, and that is not what racing is about. He also said that the new cars feel slower than GP2, so another big insult to the new cars. Hamilton, of course, is a 7-time world champion who's driven many different types of F1 cars in his very long career. So when he does say something like this, people stop and listen. He is worried that the new cars will not be a true test of a driver's ability and that the racing will suffer because of it. He feels that the focus should be on pure speed and driver skill, not on who can save the most energy. He's always been a driver who pushes to the absolute limit, and he's worried that the new rules will take that away from him and the sport. Fernando Alonso, who is the oldest and most experienced driver on the grid at 44 years old, also had some interesting things to say. He used a funny example to explain the problem. He said that the new cars are so slow in some corners that the chef could drive it. He was talking about turn 12 at the Bahrain track, which used to be a very fast and scary corner that drivers took at 260 kilometers an hour. It was a corner where the best drivers could really show off their skill. Now, though, they have to go through it at just 200 kilometers an hour to save energy. That's 50 kilometers an hour slower. Alonso also said that at that speed, anyone could drive through that corner. He said that he understands why Verstappen is complaining because as a driver, you want to make the difference in the corners. But he also said that that this is just the new challenge of F1. He's seen many rule changes in his long career, and he believes that the drivers will just have to adapt. As he put it, at the end of the day, this is F1. We close the visor, we go motor racing. This is a classic Alonso quote. It shows he's a true racer at heart who will always find a way to compete, but it does also show that he's not completely happy with the new direction of the sport. Not all drivers are complaining though. Who's not? Lando Norris. He has apparently said that, very different opinion. He said he's having a lot of fun with the new cars. He sees it as a new and interesting challenge. He also had a very strong and direct message for Verstappen. He said that if Verstappen doesn't like the new cars, he can retire. He said that F1 changes all the time and that sometimes the cars are better to drive and sometimes they're not. He feels that it's a privilege to be a Formula One driver and that any driver who doesn't want to be there can go and find something else to do. Norris also said that F1 is a challenge, but it's a good and fun challenge for both the engineers and the drivers. He said that you have to drive it in a different way and manage things differently, but he still gets to drive cars and travel the world and have a lot of fun. So for him, there's nothing to complain about. This public disagreement does add another layer of drama, though, to the 2026 season. George Russell, who drives for Mercedes and is a director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, also disagreed with Verstappen. When asked if the cars felt like Formula E on steroids, he gave a simple, sharp answer: no. He did admit, though, that having to use very low gears in corners is annoying and isn't that intuitive. He explained that Turn 1 in Bahrain used to be a third gear corner, but now they have to take it in first gear just to keep the engine revs high and the turbo spinning. But he also said that the power from the electric motor is amazing when you get the full 350 kilowatts. He believes that the cars will get much better as the teams learn more about them and that people need to give them time. He thinks the technology will progress a huge amount in the coming months and that it's too early to judge the final product based on what we're seeing in testing right now. Charles Leclerc had a slightly more balanced view. He said that the new cars are not the funnest car to drive, but that he finds the fun in a different way. He enjoys the challenge of developing the new system and trying to find clever ways to make the car faster. He said that the actual pleasure of driving the car is different from before, but that the mental challenge of figuring out the new system is still very interesting and exciting for him. This shows that some drivers are looking at the new rules as a puzzle to be solved rather than just a car to be driven fast. The boss of Formula E, Jeff Dodds, also responded to Verstappen's comments. He cheekily invited Verstappen to come and test a Formula E car, saying that he would even come and pick him up from Bahrain, since Jeddah, where Formula E was racing that same weekend, is not that far away. He said that he thinks Verstappen would be surprised by how fast the cars are. He also made a very bold claim that the next generation of Formula E cars will be even faster and might even be faster than the F1 cars. Dodds also pointed out that many ex-F1 drivers now race in Formula E and that F1 teams are now looking to Formula E drivers to understand the new style of driving. He said that the style of driving is converging between the two series and that Formula E drivers now feel completely natural with energy management, while F1 drivers are seeing it as a compromise. So what does all this mean for the future of F1? It's pretty clear that there is a big split between the drivers about the new 2026 cars. Some drivers like Verstappen and Hamilton are very worried. They think the new rules are taking the fun out of driving and making the sport too much about engineering and software. Other drivers, though, like Norris and Russell, are a bit more positive. They see the new rules as a new challenge and are excited about the future. The reason for these big changes was to attract new car companies to the sport, like Audi and Ford. The new rules are more focused on green technology, which is what these big companies want. But in trying to please the car companies, the FIA might be forgetting about the most important part of the sport: the drivers and the fans. It's a difficult balance to find, and it is one that will shape the future of F1 for years to come. The debate will continue, and it will be interesting to see how the cars develop over the next few months. But one thing is for sure, the 2026 season is already shaping up to be one of the most talked about seasons in F1 history, and it hasn't even started yet. The whole world of motorsport is going to be watching very closely to see what happens next.